Rent is past due for Lee Price. With no real option, he meets with his friend Tony, who introduces him to Mac Gargan. The man used to be a supervillain, but now works security at Alchemax. He has put together a lucrative side business, and Tony thinks Lee is perfect for a job Gargan has planned tonight. However, Mac is suspicious of the stranger, and is worried the man is psychotic. Gargan has spent too much of his life working around monsters, and he has no desire to meet another one. Lee insists that he can control himself. He used to be a ranger until he lost 2 fingers abroad. Until he gets his benefits as a disabled veteran, he's stuck. No security company would hire him, and he refuses to go back overseas to a war zone. So he'll do what Mac wants, and if he needs to stay calm, he can do that too. Mac insists that this is just some business and no violence will be necessary. He'll see these guys tonight. Elsewhere, in a dark alley, a homeless man stumbles onto the symbiote, which possesses him. The symbiote struggles with his host and vomits. There's a lot of pain in this city, many lost people, and right now, Venom is one of them. That night, the meeting goes down. The buyers say Tombstone is grateful, and the pay will be that they will spare these men's lives. Not accepting this, the men pull guns on each other, but Lee, thinking things weren't supposed to get violent, didn't bring one. As things are about to come to a head, Venom bursts through a wall. Everyone attacks it, and the symbiote leaps onto Lee. It reads through Lee's mind and is delighted to see that the man used to be a soldier. His last host was a soldier, and they did great things together. They saved New York, they saved the world, and with Lee, they could do this too. But Price disagrees. He's the one in control here. He attacks the other men, killing them, as Venom begs the man to stop. It doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't want this. But Lee is merciless and refuses to stop. He calms down and returns to his human form. Tony is excited about this, as they could make some big waves in the crime world. But Lee isn't interested in a partnership. The last man standing, the homeless man that started all of this, begs to be spared. He's nothing and no one. Nobody will listen to him, and he won't tell anyone. Lee states that he just killed a man he's known since grade school because he knew Tony couldn't keep a secret. The homeless man still insists that Venom doesn't have to worry about him, and Lee says that he's being quite convincing. That's a problem. Lee's seen a lot of violence growing up. His family was the worst of it. Back then, he had a friend his age that was a mutant who could control fire. Some government agents came for the boy, and the resulting confrontation killed Lee's mother. Lee went into family services after this, thinking that if he ever got that power, he'd have burnt that whole place down, and never would have even been caught. Price begins moving quickly, killing many and stockpiling supplies from the crime deal, toxic gas with mutagenic properties. He then goes home to figure out how to use this new power to his advantage. Lee managed to talk his way up the floors. It's easier than you might think. His briefcase got him the rest of the way. Something this valuable opens up all kinds of doors. It can also get you killed. Black Hat is skeptical about this stranger, as he is the only one who made it out of last night's deal alive. As the crime boss demands answers, Lee only says that the buyers had no intention of actually buying, and that is a failure above his pay grade. This infuriates Mac Gargan, who refuses to accept blame over the bad deal, but Lee only says the buy didn't work out. He was, however, able to bring back their mutagenic gas. The night before, Lee had been busy. The Venom symbiote was furious, having been used to kill those people. The alien knows Lee is evil, and he's had his fill of that. It will not tolerate this, but neither will Lee. He was an army ranger. He was trained in all sorts of things, including resisting psychic attacks. He's in charge here. In the present, Lee explains to Black Cat that what he needs now is a job. She says that his gamble has worked, and that she just so happens to need men like him. However, Lee is not feeling well and has to leave. Cat orders him to get his act together, and May responds that her pet scorpion knows where to find him. Mac wonders how Lee knew that he is the scorpion. Outside, 2 federal agents spy Lee leaving the building. The former ranger explains to Venom that he only has an advantage as long as nobody knows about the alien. Venom is confused, not understanding why Lee wants to work for Black Cat. The veteran says that the boss is the public face, the one who gets arrested. Lee is perfectly fine with sitting in the shadows and getting what the world owes him. He's not going to rob a bank in broad daylight. He's not going to announce himself on TV or hold an entire city hostage. He's going to be smart. He's going to be invisible. His name is Firebug. Apparently, Tombstone isn't too happy with Lee killing his men in that alley. The feds, watching Lee from outside, spot this and move in, while Venom emerges from Lee and attacks the other villain. Firebug is no match for Venom, who pins the goon to the ground, but the feds order the alien to stand down. They're packing enough ordnance to drop the thing, and they declare that Venom is under arrest. With a rocket launcher in hand, the FBI order Venom to stand down. The alien is not impressed, but as a result of their interference, he fails to notice Firebug stir and strike out. The fire causes Venom to panic, throwing Firebug straight into a building. Inside Lee's mind, the alien cries out, "It can't do this anymore. It can't take this. It has to be with someone else. Anyone else." It dives towards the feds, figuring the police officers would be good hosts. This frightens the agents, and one of them manages to shoot a now unprotected Lee. Venom tries to join with one of them, explaining that it wants to help and save lives, until it sees Lee, who is fading fast. Reluctantly, it knows it can't just sit by and let him die, and joins back with him. The two flee while the FBI looked on, shocked and bewildered by this turn of events. In Black Cat's headquarters, Mac Gargan approaches his employer, saying he does not buy Lee's story at all. He went to the alley where the bad deal supposedly went down, and there's no way that was just a regular gunfight. Black Cat doesn't really care. Everyone lies to her, but the only thing that matters is results, and the fact is, whatever reason he had for lying, he brought back their cargo intact. Dissatisfied with this, Mac insists that Lee can't be trusted, but Black Cat says right now, Lee's not the one she's worried about. In his dreams, Lee sees a vision of Tony. He can't believe his friend killed him. There's something black inside of this man. But Lee already knew this. It's been there all along. He wakes up in Tony's apartment. Venom learned of this place through his host's memories, figuring it would be safe to bring him here. He saw Lee's dream, too. Price notes that the alien clearly hates him, but it did save his life. The symbiote explains that it protects life, and it would not let him die. Lee points out that's a funny thing to say given what it did to Firebug. Venom doesn't really know what to say to that. It's always had a bit of a problem with fire. Lee is understanding though. The alien is like a dog. Smart when calm, an instinctive animal when panicked. But that's okay, because just like a dog, what he really needs, more than anything else, is for someone to take charge. One of the feds bursts in, with a gun trained on Lee. Venom is quick to warn his partner that he will not kill an innocent agent, and that Lee is still too weak to force him to do so. The agents were easily able to track Lee down, but they are willing to make a deal. Also, with his partner ready to burn this entire apartment down at a moment's notice, Venom really doesn't have a lot of options right now. So they make it clear. Work for them, be a mole within Black Cat's organization, and nobody has to get hurt. Venom loves the idea, because perhaps some good can come of all of this. But Lee warns the symbiote that just because the man has a badge, it doesn't mean he's any different from Price. Elsewhere, Adams, one of Black Cat's men, approaches Mac. He shows the man a picture of Lee's recently destroyed apartment, asking if Gargan had something to do with this, given his lack of faith in Lee. Mac is surprised to see that, saying he had nothing to do with it. Adams says that he figured it was him, but he probably should have known better. Fire has never been Mac's style. When Gargan goes for people, he goes right after them. That's why the cat hired him, actually. To do the things that need doing. Hearing this, Mac knows Adams is right. Invigorated, he goes to his scorpion suit. Outside of Parker Industries, one of the FBI agents meets with Lee Price. They chose this location because they knew Venom wouldn't dare reveal himself on Spider-Man's front door. The agent also makes it clear they know plenty about the symbiote and how to defeat it. The man goes on to say he wants to know the identity of Spider-Man, figuring that the alien would know who he is. Venom isn't actually sure about the superhero's identity, but the question confuses Lee regardless. After all, Spider-Man is supposed to be one of the good guys. The agent explains that Spider-Man is intricately tied to the organized crime business in New York City, but never works directly with the authorities. If they knew who he was, they'd have some leverage against him and could get some information out of the hero. The agent asked him to think on this, saying they'd be happy to leave Lee alone if he gave them Spider-Man's name. But Lee is wary of the whole thing. He knows they're after something else, and this is just Price's chance to get them off his case and onto bigger fish. But that's okay. He can use this. They're scared, and the more they ask of Lee, the more they will come to rely on him. And then, the FBI will belong to Lee and Venom. Not long after this, Black Cat calls Lee in. He says he is surprised by this, thinking after all the crazy stuff that went down, he'd never expected to hear from her again. But the Black Cat sees right through this comment. She says the job will be easy anyway, so there shouldn't be any ugly business like last time. The cat needs Lee to scare off a Daily Bugle reporter who has been poking around her crime business. It's a simple job, but even then they're going to send in an extra person to make sure things don't get out of hand again. Lee says that he works best alone, but if he wants to work with Cat, he has no choice in this. He will comply. Adam steers the cat into sending Gargan along, which Venom says is bad news. The alien knows Gargan quite well, and doesn't trust him one bit. Lee doesn't like any of this either. It's obvious what's going down. They're being outmaneuvered. Lee is thrown off when he finds Mac waiting for him in full Scorpion gear, but the villain explains they're supposed to be looking scary here. Breaking into the reporter's apartment, the Scorpion attacks the man. Lee points out they aren't supposed to kill anyone, but the Scorpion reveals he's just gonna kill Lee and make it look like he and the reporter did each other in. Mac grabs Lee, so Price orders Venom to fake their own death. When Gargan leaves, they'll have to think of something. It works at first, but when Mac moves to finish off the reporter, the symbiote has had enough. It surges forth with a simple demand. No more killing! Mac is shocked to see his old partner, and the two begin a savage fight. As it moves to the next apartment, the tenants begin filming them. Everyone in the world is going to see this. As the battle between Venom and Scorpion spirals out of control, Venom is suddenly hit by webbing. Spider-Man. The symbiote begins to panic, telling Lee they can't hurt this superhero. As Spider-Man saves some civilians from a fire, Venom uses this opportunity to disappear, much to the annoyance of both the superhero and Mac Gargan. Lee grabs the reporter and is able to get the details of everything the journalist has on Black Cat's organization, including the address of Adams, the man who set all of this up. Venom goes to confront Adams, threatening to expose his involvement in everything to Black Cat, and Lee manages to convince the man to turn himself in to the feds to avoid his boss's wrath. Lee sets up a meeting with the FBI, but on the way, Venom questions all of this. Lee tells the symbiote he's just cleaning up the mess the alien made when it panicked earlier. They're going to have to take down the Black Cat now, who no doubt has figured out he is Venom, and will be gunning for them. But together, the two of them will fill the power vacuum that Felicia will be leaving behind once she is arrested. Venom knows there's more to all of this scheming and pain that Lee is causing. The alien has been reading his host's memories, and knows that Lee has been put through a great deal of pain himself. Lee orders the alien to stay out of his memories, or he'll lock him up somewhere in his head that will cause some real damage. As they arrive at the meeting with the Fed, having Adams in tow, Lee says that this man will be able to give the FBI everything they are looking for. However, the two men reveal they are actually working together. The agent has been Adams' inside man with the federal authorities, and they've been communicating with each other this whole time. With the feds attacking with incendiary missiles, Venom begins to panic. Lee calms the alien down and orders him to break open a water silo. With the fire out, Venom leaps onto a helicopter and attacks the pilot. The FBI see this and begin to mobilize. They have a copter down, an agent in the field in danger, and a symbiote on the loose. The feds have a task force just for dealing with symbiotes, but it's been a while since they've been operational. Only one agent is still active, and he's been busy trying to find a team of replacements. But it doesn't matter. They're going to need his help even if it is just one man. Eddie Brock arrives on the scene and asks to be briefed on the situation. As Eddie Brock heads out to Venom's location, the symbiote attempts to escape in its own hijacked helicopter. However, when Spider-Man appears, Lee Price comes up with a new plan. They're going to kill him. The Venom symbiote doesn't like this, and Spider-Man says he knows the real Venom would never risk hurting innocent people. On the ground, Spider-Man runs into Eddie. The hero is unsurprised to see his old enemy is involved in all of this, but they agree to work together to take down Venom. Eddie even has a plan, but Spider-Man isn't going to like it. The hero approaches Venom and says he wants his suit back. Things can be the way they used to be, and this madness can come to an end. Lee refuses, but Venom loves the idea. Spider-Man is a hero. Lee is just another villain. Lee tries to hold the alien back, and the two enter into an internal struggle. Venom unleashes Lee's repressed memories. Fear and fire. Venom knows why Lee killed his own parents. Because he is broken, weak, hateful. But he doesn't get to break Venom anymore. Lee will never hurt anybody ever again. As the alien launches himself towards a willing Spider-Man, the FBI move in and attack. Alarmed, the alien is trapped in a containment suit as it rages at being tricked by Spider-Man. It declares its hatred for its old foe. Things calm down, and Lee is arrested. As he watches the symbiote being taken away, the cops mock him, saying he doesn't amount to much without the alien. Venom is prepped for transport. After all of this, the being is to be taken off-world, likely into the custody of Alpha Flight. But Eddie Brock has other ideas. He attacks the FBI agent guarding him, and later they find that man tied up, and the symbiote gone. They're back. Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and today we are covering the complete story of Venom Volume 1. So, I decided to film this one because it'll be a little easier for editing, and we're trying to do a little more of this camera work. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comment section below, but in the meantime, Venom. Yeah, this is a tough one because I'm very divided on it. On the one hand, there's some solid art. It's hard to dislike a Venom comic because he's a pretty cool character and it's not the worst thing in the world. But on the other hand, there's a lot of really crummy character work. Lee Price is not a great host for Venom, and on the whole, this just serves as a weird bridge between Flash Thompson and Eddie Brock without really informing us what happened to Flash or what's going to happen with Eddie. It's this weird middle ground where we have characters like the Black Cat and Spider-Man not really behaving all that intelligently or consistently. Black Cat really shouldn't trust Lee Price, and though that leads to some interesting stuff where her goons kind of correctly recognize that and try and act on it on her behalf, which I thought was interesting. On the whole, it's just okay. Spider-Man, I'm glad he had a role in this story, but it also was at his disservice. One minute he's saying that he trusts Venom, the next he's betraying him, and the symbiote in turn reacts very poorly to it, but also kind of childishly. It changed and kind of, I guess, grew up with Flash, but it became a lot more of a superhero in its own right. As Spider-Man says, Venom wouldn't endanger other people's lives. But it's so easily manipulated and bullied by Lee Price for the bulk of this story, and then when it finally gets away, and that moment's awesome by the way, it just throws a tantrum when Spider-Man betrays it.
And the problem is that a lot of these things could be done well. The whole idea of Spider-Man maybe betraying the symbiote could work. Maybe he is thinking that he's trying to protect like the symbiote just by imprisoning it for now, because you have to remember all this chaos is happening. So maybe Spider-Man's thinking, okay, we put it in prison for now, then we can sort all this out. We can get him back to Flash, or we can figure out something. But they don't really opt for that or explanation. So a lot of the problems, we could understand the character work if they took the time to explain it, but a lot of times they don't. So overall, it's okay. I don't think I'd recommend it. You pretty much get the idea of what happens in the story here, and the comic doesn't offer a lot on top of that. There's some interesting back and forth between Lee and Venom itself that is kind of interesting, because they do a little thing where it's like the symbiote's sort of a little angel on his shoulder talking, but it's alright. I'm a little more interested in Venom number 150 or Venomverse, but those stories are taking place now. Looking at this story on its own as it exists, it's not very good. So that's pretty much it. It's an okay story. I'm not super glad I ended up covering it. It just sort of happened, and that's pretty much it for now. I might still cover Venom 150 though, because that stuff does look more interesting, but we'll see. Let me know what you guys think about Venom in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. If you want to support us, consider checking out our Patreon page. Comic Island is brought to you by patrons, and they've been making a real difference. We're going to be using some of that money to upgrade our tech soon and potentially get a better camera and stuff. So all that support really means a lot to us. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.